Well, hi guys, it's that time. It's our Monday story. I'm sitting in the Walmart parking lot, not too far from my home, okay? And so if you hear some noise and stuff behind me, that's what it is. They're pretty busy because it's a little after 5 o'clock. With that said, I know that I'm running just a little bit late, but as you know, last Monday I told you about my house catching fire on November the 3rd, and I've been out all day long just getting all the things that I need for my house, okay? So it's getting dark and my picture's probably not that great, but anyway, I just wanted to hop on and talk a little bit more about that event that happened in my life on November the 3rd, because I want to show you some really cool stuff in all of that, okay? So I'm in Wichita Falls, Texas, and my kid Courtney and I are at the Target there, and we're inside at the Starbucks getting some coffee. The kid wanted coffee, so we had to go get her some coffee right before the 6 p.m. service started, where I would be teaching and preaching that night. So as we were leaving, that's when my phone rang, and my brother had called me 3 different times, and I knew something was really wrong for him to call me over and over again that quick over and over. In fact, I looked at Courtney, and I think I told her, I said, oh my goodness, I wonder what's happened at the restaurants. I own some restaurants, and I figured that there was it's right here at the Christmas season, and there's always a bunch of, people trying to scam money, robberies, people arguing and strife and different things, people in a bad mood. So I really thought he was calling to tell me that something was going on, right? Because one other time when I left to hit the road to go to Texas, and I was leaving at like 6 a.m., I got a phone call at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, and my restaurant had been held at gunpoint by 3 gunmen, and 2 of my employees were roughed up a little bit, and the other 4 or 5 were really shaken up and scared, and we were robbed. So, there is an enemy, okay, and the enemy wants to shut down the kingdom of God any way they can. He can. The powers of darkness want to shut down the going forth of the kingdom. I see it often. Anyway, and that's why I was so determined not to let the bad news about my home stop me from what I was sent to Texas to do. It's bad enough that I've lost all of my material belongings, but what would be even worse is for me to let that get to me so emotionally that I could not go and deliver what God had for the folks that were there. And so, if I'd have gone in there and made it about my home and me and been an emotional wreck, it would have turned out not to be a healing service and me teaching about God's goodness, but it would have been more of a pity party. And that's why, now watch, this is what I want to tell you about. So I get the phone call, and of course I was speechless, and finally I just basically told my kid Courtney to talk to my brother for me for just a second so I could get my emotions together. And here's the thing. When she got off the phone and we were talking, and I knew that it was a total loss because we live out in the country and nobody was home. My husband's in Arkansas, I'm in Texas, and we live so far out, nobody even saw the fire until it was just so big and out of control that someone on the highway saw it, okay? So anyway, so we're talking about, and I'm like, what I need to know is that my 5 dogs are okay. And I called them my babies, by the way. I said, I need to make sure the babies are okay. Courtney, I have to know my babies are okay. And listen, it is so good to have someone that walks in faith like we do with you when tragedy hits. This kid of mine, I love this girl, and she is so awesome. Look, I'm sitting there like, I need to know. And she starts speaking out of her mouth words of faith. She's like, the dogs are okay, every single one of them, and she names them by name, and she's declaring they are fine, and they will be fine, So here's the thing. We knew before we got to the church that 4 of the 5 were okay, that they had caught them. Now look, I got to tell you this real quick. Animals will not leave the scene of a fire, whether they're inside, outside, like horses in a barn. They don't try to get out because that stall is that horse's safe place, and they stay there hoping things are going to be okay. Okay, so animals tend not to try to run and get away from a fire. They stay there and they go to their safe place. So all 5 of my dogs were in the garage on their dog beds, right? And it started on the opposite end of the house in the attic, so it had burned across the house. But look, this house is falling in, flames and smoke everywhere, and there's 5 dogs in my garage on their dog beds, just curled up, scared, but curled up, not leaving. So the firemen and my brother are getting the dogs out of the garage, and they, bless my brother, he's got a fairly new truck, right? And they're putting these dogs in his brand new pickup, right? And but when they went to pick up my sweet little Reba, she's my kind of sweet little mama's girl, if you want to call it. She actually bit the sheriff guy or one of the firemen, one of the two, and ran out in the woods. She came back, and when they tried to get her again out of the garage, see, she came back to her safe place. When they tried to get her out a second time, she ran off again. And that's when I was telling Courtney, I'm like, you have got to tell my brother, I don't care about anything. He needs to find my little girl. I don't care. Get on the 4-wheeler, and I want him to look and search for her. She is alone. The other 4 dogs are not with her, and she's scared, and she could very easily get out in the highway being so panicked and upset and get ran over. So I told her to make sure that my brother knew to find my Reba. Okay, her name is Reba, after Reba McEntire. Courtney named this dog. So anyway, my brother assured me, and for Courtney to tell me, he promised me, he gave me his word, he would not stop looking for my little girl until he found her. So finally, this is the beautiful thing. You know, I did my makeup over and over, and I told my kid, I said, if I can just get to the church, I'll start talking to people, and I won't even think about it. I won't be able to. And I wasn't, guys. I wasn't. Once I walked up at the front of the church and started preaching and teaching, that house and everything was the last thing on my mind. I was more concerned with the people there coming to receive what God had sent for them. But this is so beautiful. You know, I'm up there preaching and teaching and just going at it, right? And my kid walks, Courtney, is at the back of the church, and she walks across the back, and she kind of gets my attention and does this, and she looks at me and does this and smiles. And she let me, because I told her when I got up to go on stage, I told her, I said, I need you the moment that you know that my brother has my little girl and she's safe, you have to tell me. I need to know that my little girl's okay. And she did this and shook her head yes and winked. And I knew that my little Reba girl had been found and she was safe with the other 4 dogs. And guys, that is just one of the beautiful things. But listen, when I was like, my dog has to be okay, she has to be okay, my kid Courtney starts speaking words of faith, not words of doubt. She didn't start crying and start going, oh my goodness, what if they don't live, or nothing negative. This child started speaking words of faith. They will be fine. The dogs are, I mean, and she is just so powerful when she started decreeing that. And did you know, guys, that helped me more than for her to break down and start crying and be in a basket case to pull me into emotions. But instead, she was there for me to be strong and to help me speak words of faith and stay positive. Well, listen, I've gone a little bit as far as I want to go today. I'm going to go back and do a little bit more. I got 2 more things I need to pick up at another store, and then I'm headed home to my husband, and we're going to keep putting my new 16 by 80 mobile home together. And you know, God is so good to me. I have got so many stories I can tell you, blessing upon blessing upon blessing, from the tragedy, that trouble. You know, last week I told you troubles will come. Our part in the trouble is to determine if we're going to walk above it or get down in it. And I've already decided circumstances will not determine my attitude and how I live. No, Jesus determined my destiny. He determined my identity. He determined all of that on the cross 2,000 years ago. The tragedies, troubles, and sorrows in this world will not determine who I am and how I live. I will not allow that. Jesus paid a big, big price for me, and I will honor what he did for me, and I will not let the troubles of this world determine who I am. Jesus determined who I am. Jesus said, you're adopted. You're a daughter of God, and you are more than a conqueror, and you will walk this thing out in victory. And I, my friend, for one, this little girl, I'm going to go with what Jesus has already won and declared about who I am and how I'm going to live. I'm going to sign off. I love you, and I will see you here tomorrow. Bye-bye.